And welcome back. I want to make sure that you did take the time to print off the handbook and also grab a notepad so you can take notes for this training. If you haven't done either one of those, stop the video now and grab a notepad, print off the handbook so you can take notes. So today we're going to talk about how to develop resilience and persevere in the time of uncertainty. So 2 questions I have for you today. 2 questions. The first one is, do you want to know how to develop resilience? I mean, really, do you really want to know how to develop resilience? You can just say yes to yourself. And would you like to know how to persevere in the time of uncertainty? Some strategies around how to be able to persevere in the time of uncertainty. Again, wherever you are, write that down, maybe under your notepad, your response of what you're truly feeling right now. There are 2 entrepreneurs, actually leaders, right? Entrepreneurs, leaders, they owned a shoe company and they wanted to open up this new remote area. And so the first entrepreneur gets on a plane, flies to this remote area, and they get off the plane, they start to survey the land and they get really frustrated. So they call the home office and they say, stop the shipment. No one wears shoes. Now, the second entrepreneur, they get off the plane, they start to survey the land and they get really fired up. I mean, they're excited. They call the home office and they say, send me everything that you've got because no one wears shoes. Same situation, but 2 different viewpoints. One saw it as an obstacle, the other became resilience. Wherever you are today, I just want you to say to yourself out loud, if you can, I'm resilient. And just like this palm tree really represents the ability to be resilient, right? Going through the storm, the high winds, the challenges, the disappointments, the tree able to bounce back, just like yourself. As you're developing strategies around becoming resilient, you too will be able to continue to bounce back and to be strong. Now, there's several strategies that you can use to help develop resilience. Today, I'm going to focus specifically around mindset, helping you develop the specific mindset so you can develop resilience and persevere in the time of uncertainty. So developing resilience, perseverance, I think that's a great strong word, but let's to be on the same page. Let us define that specifically from Webster's definition is the continued effort to do or to achieve something despite difficulty, failure, opposition, or the action or condition or instance, persevering, steadfastness. I mean, we've all been through challenges. If you're watching this training in 2020 or beyond, we have definitely gone through some adversity, difficulties, and failures. But in spite of all of that, the ability to be able to lead well and lead your team, lead yourself, is the ability to persevere during that time. So let me ask you this question. Do you truly believe that you can persevere? I mean, really, as you sit here watching this training, do you believe that you can persevere? You know, that lake in that picture might metaphorically represent your leadership team, maybe your business. And the other side of the water could represent fear of success, fear of failure, fear I'm not good enough, fear of what does everybody else think about me. And standing on the ground, you might be standing on the what if. What if I take the risk and it doesn't work? What if I don't take the risk? A lot of fear and what ifs. And you might be experiencing just that right now as you're watching this training, some fear and some what if questions that are circling and bombarding your thoughts throughout the day. Several years ago, I went through a similar experience, nothing to what we've experienced in the last year. But I was going through several medical tests during that time. And one of those tests was an MRI. So we scheduled the procedure, had that procedure. I was waiting for the results. I was at a client site. I got a phone call. In fact, it was the doctor's office and it said, they want to see you immediately. My doctor wanted to see me immediately because they found a mass on my thyroid. Well, if you've ever received news such as that, you can imagine of some of the fear and some of the what ifs that you might experience. So I hung up the phone, made arrangements with my client, and met with my doctor. And we decided, because of the size, the shape of it, they wanted to do surgery as soon as possible. And so that's exactly what we did. Well, thankfully, during surgery, it was discovered that it was benign. But during surgery, one of my vocal cords was nicked. It became paralyzed. My vocal quality on a scale from 1 to 10 was about a 2. And what I do for a living, I needed to overcome that obstacle. So I started working with a speech therapist. So every day going through that process, it definitely was a journey, but because of my faith and developing a strong mindset, I was able to persevere and develop the resilience through that process. There's a great book by the name of James Allen, and James Allen wrote this book, As a Man Thinketh. If you've never read James Allen's book, I highly recommend that you get a copy. But this is one of the quotes from that book. He says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. What he thinks his character being the complete sum of all of his thoughts. See, mindset is one of the top strategies in developing resilience and persevering in a time of uncertainty. It's the mindset. And one of the strategies I'm about to teach you, I learned years ago from John C. Maxwell. I did further research around it, but this concept is really going to help you develop the right mindset to be able to develop resilience and to persevere in the time of uncertainty. It's called the Walllinden Factor. You see, the Walllinden Factor is the ability to think about succeeding and to concentrate at the task at hand and not think about failing. So I believe everyone that's watching this training, that you have the ability to think about succeeding and concentrating at the task at hand and not think about failing. It was named after the famous tightrope walker, Karl Wallenda. You see, several months prior to his most famous stunt, he started portraying to his wife and to his coworkers that he wasn't going to make it. He supervised the construction of the tightrope, something he had never done before. See, he was focused on falling and failing, and as a result, he fell. James Allen, in his same book, As a Man Thinketh, says that a good thought and action never produced a bad result, and a bad thought and action never produced a good result. So if we really want to get greater results in our life, we have to understand where really, truly are results coming from. This is what I call the thinking circle, or what I really like to refer to it as the transformational circle, because this is where really true transformation takes place. If we're going to reverse engineer this process, if we start here with results, we have to ask ourselves, where do our actions come from? Well, our actions come from our results, right? Positive actions, you get positive results. Negative actions, you get negative results. So let me illustrate. Let's say that for a year, you're going to eat a bowl of ice cream every night before going to bed. I'll guarantee you, at the end of that year, you're going to have a result. Now, on the opposite side of that, let's say that you decide this year that you're going to work out 3 times a week, and you're going to do it for 30 minutes, and you do that consistently every single week for a year. At the end of that year, you're going to have a result. Positive actions, you get positive results. Negative actions, you get negative results. But we know by brain science that if we want to get long-lasting change, if we really want to develop habits that last, we can't just change the action that we're looking to change. We have to ask ourselves the question, where do our actions come from? And they come from our beliefs. See, the day that you were born until current day, you've developed all types of beliefs of who you are. Beliefs of you as a leader. You have beliefs about if you have a spouse, if you have siblings. You have belief about leading through a pandemic. You have beliefs about taking your business, your career to the next level, all types of beliefs, and your thoughts driving those beliefs. Now down here, you'll notice we have the firewall for the mind. I developed the firewall for the mind concept several years ago, but I think it's really imperative that we protect and will we expose our minds to, which I'll explain in a little bit later. So if we really want to get greater results, so if that's the question, if we really want to get greater results in our life, where do they come from? Well, they come from your thoughts. Those thoughts that you're thinking on a daily basis is driving your beliefs. Those beliefs are driving actions or inactions and getting results. And then it repeats. So what's the firewall here helps protect what you expose your mind to. Is it the news, social media, movies, what podcast you're listening to? What are the people that you're hanging out with? What are they saying? And those thoughts are either driving new beliefs about your product and service, about your abilities, and that might move you to action or inaction, and you get a certain result. So the secret, really, if you want to be that leader, that entrepreneur, is the secret of habit of thoughts. So the idea really falls around the firewall for the mind. It's really a key concept that I developed because I think we spend a lot of money on protecting our computers from viruses that we don't want to harm our computers, right? There's a firewall that's protecting it. And as leaders, as entrepreneurs, I think it's really critical that we put a firewall in place to protect what we expose our thoughts to, what we're focused on, what we're thinking about. The National Science Foundation says that we have 50,000 thoughts a day. Those thoughts are either moving you towards your goal or away from your goal. So it's critical to be able to put something in place to be able to protect what you expose your mind to. And one of those strategies around is what I call affirmations. So affirmations are positive statements written in the present tense because we're already thinking thoughts like, I'm not good enough. I can't manage through this crisis. What are other people thinking? Or you might be strong and confident. I love leading people through challenges. I'm a strong leader. Whatever your self-talk is, there's something that's going on in reference to that's moving you towards your goal or away from your goal. But if it's not strong as it needs to be, then I encourage you to really develop a firewall for the mind. And one of the 4 thought leaders around affirmations is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And years ago, I was at a conference and he was speaking. When he came off the stage, I introduced myself to Dr. Shad Helmstetter and told him that I do training all around affirmations. And I wanted him to know what I should be telling my clients, my students, of how to really manage their thoughts. And this is what he said. It said it was a 3-step process and really master the art of thinking. So there's 3 steps that he shared with me. The first step is that you want to recognize and monitor your self-talk. Well, that's easy. As you go throughout your day, just monitor what you're thinking to yourself. Is it positive? Is it moving you towards your goal? Is it strengthening your relationships? Are you saying I'm confident and relaxed? I manage my time well. I'm productive. I focus on important aspects. What are your positive thoughts? So monitor your self-talk. The second thing is stop negative self-talk. When you sense a negative self-talk, just stop it. And you can simply do that by just saying stop or cancel. Or once you hear that thought in your head, just to say, well, that's not like me. I'm usually organized. I get things done. I'm focused. And the third step is then you replace it with a new affirmation that's written in the first person present tense. I'm relaxed and confident. I manage my time well. I make an impact with everybody I come in contact with. I'm relaxed and confident. Those are new affirmations that you can focus on to helping you get greater results. And at the end of this training, also inside the email that you received, there's some other tools that will help you to develop those affirmations. Another strategy in developing that resilience is developing the morning routine. And this is what I call the power hour. Every morning, I'm intentional about your day. Now, here's the deal. You already have a routine. It might not be intentional, but you have a morning routine. You might be hitting the snooze button. You might get up and you feel grumpy maybe, and you have to get your first cup of coffee. And then maybe you look at your social media, start looking through email. You have a routine, but it might not be intentional. All I'm doing is challenging you to have an intentional morning routine. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm intentional of how I start the day. What are the affirmations when my feet hit the ground? I have specific affirmations that I'm saying to myself about the day. And then I start the day. And then when a part of that time and that hour, I'm reading affirmations again out loud and with intention. I'm focused on reading through my goals that I'm focused on for that month. And then another area that I've really been working on since 4 years since I've started working on a gratitude journal. And every morning I'm writing down 3 things that I'm grateful for. What are 3 things that you're grateful for? And there's been some research really interesting around gratitude journals tied to increasing your resilience. It's a very simple practice. If you just grab a journal and write down every morning 3 things that you're grateful for. And the other thing I write down in that journal is I write down one win. So something that was successful for the day prior. So that's part of my power hour. There's a whole list of what I focus on, but those are some things. If you've never started doing a morning routine, you might consider those intentions of how you'd start your day, reading affirmations, goals, and writing in a gratitude journal. Another area of developing resilience and being able to persevere in this time is be able to pivot. When the crisis happened in March of 2020, I started noticing different companies that were pivoting. They were starting to change. They wanted to adjust. And one of those stories was a wedding photographer. Well, as you can imagine, right, weddings in March and beyond of 2020 really got small or non-existent, right? And so this wedding photographer started to join this movement called front porch photos. And front porch photos, they were across the street taking pictures of individuals or families on their front porches. So it's a zoom lens across the street, very safe. But they were able to pivot. And since then, I noticed a lot of different businesses that were pivoting. They were changing up their process, maybe new products that they adopted to be able to adjust. And as the year went on, companies, it wasn't just like one pivot, it was a constant reevaluating. How can we pivot? What's the next move that we have to be aware of to adjust, to make an impact and keeping our business moving forward? So pivot is really critical to be aware. And that's really embracing the mindset, being willing to embrace the pivot, knowing that change is inevitable and that to being able to persevere is to try something else. If your first pivot didn't work, try something else and move through that process to see if that pivot's going to work. So those are some areas to focus on. Some tools that will really allow you to develop your perseverance and persevere in a time of uncertainty is the morning routine. That's a really critical, because as leaders start your day, as entrepreneurs, how they start the day, it really can impact the rest of your morning, right? It can impact the people that you come in contact with. If you're intentional about your morning, I'll guarantee you're going to have greater connections with your clients, with potential new prospects. So be intentional about your morning. The second thing is firewall for the mind. Be intentional about developing that firewall, knowing those affirmations that you're going to write and say out loud to yourself. That's going to help develop that firewall for the mind. There is a training that I did years ago. It's now on Spotify. It has a faith-based perspective. So if that resonates with you, you can find the firewall for the mind over on Spotify. And then listening to encouraging podcasts. Again, this is going to help you develop that right mindset to be able to develop that resilience. So schedule those into your day. If you're working out, then you can integrate that with podcasts, or maybe listen to podcasts when you are getting ready for the morning. But listening to positive material will really help set the mindset that you can help developing resilience. And journaling, gratitude journal, which is really a great practice and strategy to develop resilience. There's a couple of things to make sure that we have reviewed. That cultivating the mindset is really critical. Knowing how to make sure that you're aware of the pivot during this time of crisis, or the practical ways to be able to feed your faith and starve your fear. And that was the Walllinden Factor. Knowing that you're focused on what you want, don't focus on what you don't want. develop the firewall for the mind, and some other strategies and tools. And this will also be included in the email that you receive from this training. But the Mindset Toolkit is just my website at warrenwalling.com/mindset toolkit. And there you get a few more tools that I share with you in developing the right mindset. If you're interested in developing other strategies around resilience, or you want to just connect around how I might be able to help you in this area, please send me an email. But in the subject line, put resilience, just so I know what it is pertained to. Well, it takes 3 numbers to open up a padlock, right? Just like when you're used to, if you don't go to the gym anymore, when you used to go to the gym, it takes 3 numbers to open up a padlock. And if you're missing one of the numbers, you can't open up the padlock. I believe today that I've given you the combination to open up the combination of developing resilience and persevering in a time of uncertainty. Go, become the leaders that you are meant to be, and be resilient. So thank you for being on this training. I'm so excited that you decided to join me on this journey of developing resilience. Make sure that you stay connected. And there's a couple of other ways to be able to connect with me. Is on my Facebook page. We have a private group called Leadership with Purpose. If you've not already joined us there, you can search it in Facebook groups, Leadership with Purpose. Send me an invite. I'll make sure that you're part of that community. And also there's another link that I'm going to be sending you of other tools that you can be able to stay connected on this email list as well. But I wish you the best and stay resilient.